Thank you for coming to Brentford Henry Hoover Stadium, Community Stadium, for this meeting of the Isleworth and Brentford Area Forum. Can I just introduce our host for tonight? His name's John Burr. He's the he's a community liaison man, something like that, for Brentford Football Club.
There we go. Not been one of these before, so there we go. I'll start again. My name's John Burr. I'm the community manager at Brentford FC, so I work for the club, and it's a massive welcome to you all to the community, or GTEC Community Stadium. For us, it's fantastic to have these kind of meetings here. It's an aim for the club to keep that community connection, so working with our Community Sports Trust, which lots of you are already aware of. We've got a few of the guys here tonight, Graham, just over there. They've got a brand new office just on the back of our away end, so I would advise you at some point to have a wander around there if you haven't already. It's a fantastic space, community space downstairs and offices above. For us as a club, it's a brilliant start to the season. If anyone saw the Man City game just before the break, I don't think anyone expected that, but a fantastic result into the World Cup break. And just to reiterate, it's a big welcome to you all here, to the councillors, local residents and other groups. Hope you have a fantastic evening, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thanking John and thanking Brentford Football Club. It's been an ambition to come here for a while for a meeting, but normally our meetings are on a Thursday, and you don't normally get in these spaces ready for a Saturday game, but I don't know what the half-time score is at Brazil and Serbia, but this is better. It's just like watching Brazil, as I would suggest. Right, let's kick off. I know we're a little late, but let's kick off. Have we got any apologies? We've got some apologies for absence. Bill?
We do, Chair. We've had apologies for absence from councillors Catherine Dunn, Balash Sarai and Councillor Aftab Siddiqui.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any... let me just go around and ask people to introduce themselves, if you like. Yeah, Councillor Unsa Chowdhury, tell us who you are and where you're from.
Hello, that's a bit loud. I'm Councillor Unsa Chowdhury and I'm the Councillor for Ostley and Spring Grove Ward. So hi everyone.
Hi there, oh my God, that is loud, you're right. I'm loud anyway. Hi, I'm Councillor Salman Shaheen. I'm Councillor for Isleworth and also Cabinet Member for Parking, Parks and Leisure on Hounslow Council.
Good evening everyone, Councillor John Stratton. I'm a Councillor for Isleworth.
Good evening everyone, my name's Sergeant Jim Cope and I'm the Safer Neighbourhood Sergeant for Brentford East, Brentford West, Ostley and Spring Grove and Cyan and Brentford Lock.
I'm Bill. I'm taking notes this evening, not actually part of this forum at all.
You're an important part of the forum. I'm Councillor Tony Lukey, Chair of the Forum and Councillor for Ostley and Spring Grove Ward.
Councillor Dan Bowring, Cyan and Brentford Lock.
Councillor Rhys Williams, Councillor for Brentford East, which is where we are now, and a great pleasure to be at Brentford Football Club.
Evening everyone, I'm Councillor Marina Charlotte. I'm also Councillor for Brentford East.
Hello, I'm Councillor Sue Sampson, Ward Councillor for Isleworth and Cabinet Member for Housing and Homelessness.
Hi, I'm Lara Parisotto, Councillor for Brentford West.
Hello, I'm Guy Lambert. I'm a member for Brentford West and I'm a Cabinet Member for not economics, absolute rubbish. Environment, highways and operational services.
Excellent, thank you. Ladies, gentlemen, are there any declarations of interest on any item tonight's agenda? Good, that's good. Thank you very much. Next item is a regular item, but different every meeting. It's the local policing and community safety update piece. People will have seen the agenda, maybe read some of the stats. I would just ask 2 minutes from from Councillor Sergeant Jim Cope. So 2 minutes from Jim Cope to a couple of highlights, but then I'll throw it open to questions from councillors and then questions from residents, members of the public here. That's how we do it here. Councillors ask questions first, then yourselves, and then we'll until the end, and we'll move on to the next item. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Overall, we've sort of like been recovering from obviously the passing of Queen Elizabeth. That took a lot of resources. There's been some numerous changes, obviously, Met-wide. Recently, the Commissioner has obviously applied his 100-day plan. We're now sort of like seeing the fruitions of that at the moment. Trust and confidence rebuilding he's decided that it's going to be in the direction of the emergency response teams, who have been sort of direly under strength for a number of times, which has always led to our S&T officers being abstracted to support them. So some decisions have been made around that recently in terms of supporting them and moving forward. That's leaving S&T a little bit vulnerable, but the vision will be in January and February we should be seeing the benefits of the response teams being fully up to strength, and then we will seal the filter down.
Thank you, Jim. Any councillors got questions? Councillor Shaheen.
Mainly just a comment and just to say thank you. Last time we were here, I asked you if you wouldn't mind going and speaking with the allotment holders at Park Road Allotments who had suffered a string of vandalism. I think you went and did that. I think you took some decisive action, and I haven't heard of any further incidents. I don't know if you have.
No, I've met one of our original speakers from the last meeting. Yes, officers did attend. They obviously met with them on site, looked around the site, carried out patrols. And the positive news is from this evening is, yeah, you're quite correct. We've not had any reports of further vandalism there, which is really good to hear.
Thank you. Councillor Parisotto.
Thank you. In the report, talks about some strategies such as the coffee with a copper. How are those going?
They've beginning. So literally, I put OWL messages out last week. If no one signed up to OWL, that's a really good way of checking on what we're doing within the community, events that we're holding. But yeah, coupled with a copper, it's going to be an officer will basically sit in a cafe for a couple of hours, and if you want to come and have a chat about anything or anything that's going on within your local area, you want to raise the matter too, it's like an open forum. You come and join us, and they will be there. Off the top of my head, I think the first one is tomorrow. It'll be at Osterley. It's at the Noshery on London Road from 4 o'clock. So we're hoping to hold these events in, so like Osterley and Spring Grove, one south of the sector in the Isleworth area, and then one further north, say like Thornbury Road, probably be the Park Cafe, I think it is, in a couple of weeks. But they'll be held on a regular basis. Each ward is meant to be having 2 a month. So we're going to be gradually rolling that out. I think Siren we're struggling with because I've only got one officer there at the moment, so we're try and flex a little bit with officers from Osterley to come and support them. But yeah, that's the strategy at the moment. We've obviously had a number of events. We're going to be here for the next week's event for the Brentford Assembly. We've held events over in Osterley at Skye. So we've been doing quite a few lots of community engagement recently.
Thanks for that. If you can, or when you can, please share the dates and the locations of the of these coffees with coppers with our ward councillors, with the 5 wards councillors. That'll be useful. We'll try and make it down to the noshery in Osley and Spring Grove ward tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Anybody else? Anybody got any more questions for Jim? Okay. Anybody from the audience want to ask? Have a question with a copper? You're getting off lightly here. Put your hand up. Yeah, gentleman here.
I'd just like to say that I've not heard of that initiative at all, so I don't think you've been publicising it very well.
Yeah, this is. I think the issue that we have is in terms of communicating. Yeah, we're terrible in terms of getting messaging out. It's just the medium that we use, which is OWL. Have you ever heard of OWL? Yes. Yeah. So obviously, yeah. So that I did put a message out there last week. So did you not get the message, or?
I can't say that I've read everything that's here. It hasn't been in any.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I published it last week, so obviously trying to give it enough sort of time so that people can obviously plan ahead. I'm not entirely sure what's the best medium because, yes, we don't use Nextdoor because, to be honest with you, that would be too much grief if we were on Nextdoor, and we would probably never ever get out on actually police. But, yeah, I think it's a really good sort of suggestion from Councillor Loki there in terms of if we've got to actually message out to a wider audience via the councillors, then that would probably assist. Obviously, OWL is our preferred method, or Twitter, but once again, it's whether or not you've got access to those social media strategies. But we do try and make it publicly aware, but I'll certainly take it on board. I think we're still learning in terms of selling ourselves.
Sorry. The OWL message, was that only to people in Osley and Spring Grove, or was it wider?
For Osley and Spring Grove, it was only for Osley and Spring Grove. So obviously other wards, if you're part of another ward, will be having their own separate dates. I think Angela's, our PCSO, has arranged a couple of dates. She's at the back there, but I can't remember. I think we've got them up full. But once again, every single ward will be having at least 2, well, they have to have 2 a month.
Are you on College Road, sir? Yes. Okay, all right. Are you on OWL? Have you registered for OWL? Okay, all right. So you may have missed. These normally go to your inbox. Fair enough. I understand that. Okay, all right. But maybe you know where the noshery is, don't you? Just opposite the bank. So if you're around at 4 o'clock, by all means. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Any other? Chris from Church.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask, you said you're putting emphasis on these response units. It may sound really thick here, but what does that mean for the general public?
Sorry, could you just repeat that?
So you said you're putting emphasis on response units. I mean, it sounds like quite a big thing, is it?
It is a massive thing, yeah.
What does that mean for someone ringing 101 or 999? Or? Well,
to be honest with you, it will mean that you will more than likely have your call answered a lot quicker than what you're getting at the moment. The bare bones of it is that the response teams have been poorly under strength. So therefore, a minimum strength of, say, 40 officers for the whole of the Whiskey Alpha BCU, which is including Ealing and Hillingdon, because they look at it as a whole of the BCU, they're just woefully under strength. And I think they should be up to nearly 90 and 100 officers. So that when they don't have the minimum strength, unfortunately, we have to, what we call backfill. So safer neighbourhood officers will be told, and like myself, I might be a sergeant on response team in Ealing. I'll come in one day and then my shift has been changed. So whatever I had planned for my wards just suddenly gets thrown up in the air. And I have to go over to Ealing, or Hillingdon is a bit of a nightmare, but Hillingdon response team. But you will see, in terms of response, that means you're called. If you call 101 or you call 999, that means you are guaranteed a response.
Excellent, thank you.
So in terms of rebuilding the trust and confidence in the police, that is where the Commissioner has decided to start. He does believe in safer neighbourhoods quite strongly, but I think he realises that when we've got calls that are carrying a lot of risk that are sat there for 2 days because they haven't been able to send an officer because other things have come in, then obviously that's where we're losing the battle. So that's where he's decided to start.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any more? All right. Look, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jim. We'll see you around. Got a list for you somewhere for our ward anyway. But yeah, much appreciate as always do you coming down and your colleagues come down. Where are they now?
Yeah, I've got PC Michael Calder, PC Dan Angelina, and also the great PCSO Angela Mazzai at the back there.
Okay.
The stalwart of Brentford.
All right, they're good to see them here as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If anyone wishes to have a quick chat with us, we'll hang around over there for a few minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so. Please come over if you've got anything that you want to have a chat to us personally. Please do.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've got a number of when we had the number of marketplace stalls here. We one of them in the corner there. We featured the younger. We featured younger people and the needs of younger people. One of the things that happened recently was a survey of about 2,000 young people across the borough, carried out by young people in the borough. We've got some participants of that exercise here today, just to report back on what they did and what they found out. We've got I don't remember all their names, but we've got here you go.
We've got Manure, and that's the only person I've met, so that's the only name I know.
Yeah, okay. So that's your story. You're sticking to it. But can I invite them? Can I invite them up here? We've got a young man from the Green School, and from St Mark's, and from somewhere else. Sorry, really, I should have been a bit more prepared. But here they are. You'll see them in person, and they'll introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, my name is Ed Cooney and I work for Participation People. So I've been supporting these lovely young people who are the Hounslow Young Researchers on a bit of a project over the last year or so to look into what young people's experiences are of growing up in Hounslow and what they'd like to see changed across the borough and to make it an even better place to grow up in. So as a little bit of a background, we've been commissioned by the council to look into this. So basically, all the findings that these guys have come up with are being incorporated into the Children and Young People's Plan and that sort of thing. So yeah, we recruited a team of, there were about 10 of you, weren't there? Aged between 14 and 18. And we gave them some skills in research and that sort of thing, and then basically they've designed a survey, some focus groups and what have you, and they carried out this research. So in total they heard from 2,254 young people aged between 11 and 25 across the borough. So we've got a really, really good spread there. There were I think the biggest schools where we heard back from were Boulder Academy. We had a lot from Brentford School for Girls, Isleworth and Sion, Green School for Boys, Green School for Girls. Yeah, so I will hand over to the young people to tell you a little bit more about what they found out, because it's much better coming from them. So over to you guys.
If you could introduce yourselves, your names, where you're from, before you start.
Hello, my name is Shahjahan Akbar, and I go to Isleworth and Sion School for Boys.
Hi everyone, my name is Manor and I go to the Heathen School.
Oh yeah, that's all right. All right, my name's Alfie and I go to the Green School for Boys.
So there were 4 main themes that came up during our investigation, and so I'll be covering the stats portion of the education theme. 35% of young people said education should be improved in Hounslow. We also asked what could be done to improve your education. "56% of young people said teaching life skills. 42% said better school dinners. 41% said more subjects available to study. When we asked, have any of the following stopped you or limited you from attending extracurricular activities, 45% said too much schoolwork, university work, or college work.
To add to that, students feel they aren't being taught as much life skills and don't have the time to participate in extracurricular activities. They feel as though there isn't much support towards getting work experience and volunteering opportunities, which could potentially help them in their future.
Young people also said that crime is really important to young people, and when young people got asked, do you feel safe in Hounslow, 47% said some places but not others, 20% said yes, 12% said no, and 10% said they're not sure, and 10% they said sometimes. Also, 73% of young people who answered our survey said that a key priority for Hounslow is that the borough should be made more safer.
So we looked at responses that mentioned Brentford and Isleworth, and so here are some of the comments that were present in them. There are some areas I like, such as Hounslow South, where I live, and Brentford. Isleworth is also okay, where my school is, but some areas like Feltham are a bit dangerous, with very small housing, and some areas like High Street and nearby are dirty and noisy, with lots of people smoking and littering. In Brentford, there's been a few stabbings and jumpings. I feel like places such as Isleworth and Brentford and Feltham aren't safe. Isleworth feels safe, but not anywhere else. I feel like parts of Feltham, Isleworth, and Heston, there are continuous crimes, and especially knife crimes, which personally scare me, but in parts of Hounslow Central and Austerley, it seems quite safe. People in Hounslow in general perhaps are used to crime, so may not report it. I also feel that there's a lot of fear about being involved in crimes, fear of being caught in gang activity and further on. Also, more police presence seems to cause more worry, as in our survey, it became quite apparent that young people were undecided whether more police presence would make them feel safer. Okay, so I'm now going to be covering a portion of the stats for the mental health topic. So mental health is a topic that young people cared a lot about, and which seemed to be affecting all young people. We asked young people, how happy are you on a scale of 1 to 100? On average, they said 59. We asked, have you had access to mental health support within the last 12 months? They responded, 30% of them said no, 19% said yes, 13% said they weren't sure, and 36% said that they hadn't needed it.
To add to that, we also asked what would help improve your mental health to young people. And young people said speaking to friends or their partners. Also, leisure activities and speaking to family would also be the most helpful.
We also held a focus group with the Youth Council, and we asked them, have you ever required support? Are mental health services available in Hounslow? Were they useful and helpful? And I'll read to you some of the responses. Young people said they spoke to teachers, but this often proved unhelpful. Yes, I had the Hounslow youth counselling sessions. I got to reach them from school. Went to visit a school counsellor and found it really helpful. Was having a rough day, and accessing that support has definitely enabled me to reach out for help when needed. Yes, it was a long waiting time, but it was effective and helpful for a while. No, not really. You can talk to teachers, etc., but you have to get your parents' consent. Some students don't want their parents to get to know or get involved in such matters. Now moving on to streets and transport. We asked young people, what do you think? We asked young people to describe the 3 things they dislike about Hounslow, and the most popular answers were litter, people, and dirty. Some words that were most commonly used as well were traffic, busy, pollution, and 72% of young people in Hounslow said they want Hounslow to be made safer. 68% want it to be more cleaner. This was similar to the rest of the answers as seen across different ages, genders, and areas.
So, more specifically on the topic of litter, vaping and cigarettes seem to be causing the bulk of the issue, especially since these are being sold to underage young people. And these are causing a lot of litter issues at the moment. There's also a problem with bins overflowing, not having enough bins around, and generally areas being dirty and littered. From our survey, we found that decreasing litter would make young people feel better around the borough. Young people feel there should be more effort made to improve street safety and cleanliness. In regards to transport, buses are a particular issue for young people, especially traveling to and from school, as they're often busy and often there's delay due to traffic. Here's a comment we picked out from a young person who goes to school in Brentford in relation to what they dislike about the borough. The rubbish on the streets is often just left there. Not a lot of community gatherings and horrible traffic in Isleworth. And thank you for listening.
Do you have any questions for us?
Thank you, team. There. May I offer the first opportunity for questions to councillors? Councillor Parazotto, then Councillor Lambert, and Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you. Well done on doing that work. On the topic of mental health, within the data that you already have, do you have a potential breakdown of which categories of young people are more affected, perhaps gender breakdown, or the areas within the borough that are not being well served by mental health treatment?
Yeah, so we found that particularly young people who are from the LGBT community particularly felt that they suffered a little bit more with their mental health and also had a little bit more trouble accessing services. In terms of breakdowns of areas, we didn't find that there was that much of a gap across where you live in Hounslow. But we certainly found, that particularly LGBTQ plus young people often struggle to access mental health services as well.
Thank you. Councillor Guy Lambert.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I've got one or two questions linked, really. You talked a lot about litter, which is I'm to blame for litter, so I'm interested to know how I'm sinning. So the question is, are there particular places where you think this is a problem? That's first one, and the second part of the question is, you know, we're trying to fix it. What are your ideas of what we can do to fix it?
I'll answer. Not the litter story though. Regarding the first part of your question, I feel primarily it's commercial areas where people are buying things and so on, because what happens is they end up buying something, they use it, and then they just leave their rubbish there. In terms of how you would improve it, I feel a primary way to improve it would be you could potentially hire people to essentially serve as birdwatch, if you could use that phrase, to ensure that people aren't littering. And if they do litter, you could essentially ask them to pick up their litter and throw it away. Because what you find is if someone is being confronted about their actions, they're more likely to take them back, especially if they're widely believed to be negative, which littering is.
Thanks. I mean, would you just a supplementary to that? Would you gather a group of young people to come and meet Councillor Lambert to discuss this matter particularly?
I think that's something that the Youth Council could potentially be interested in. So yeah, definitely get in touch with us, and we'll see if we can organise something on that front.
Sorry, I'm putting some laying it back on Councillor Lambert. Councillor Unsa Chowdhury.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. It's very well done. What did you find most surprising over the course of your research, and how did you find doing the work?
So the most surprising, I feel like, was when we talked about safety and crime, because obviously that's a very big issue as a borough in Hounslow, and some areas that, you know, other young people find safe, some don't find them as safe. So for instance, I used to go to school in Feltham, and I didn't have an issue with the area. I was like, okay, it's, you know, it's Hounslow, it's part of Hounslow. But when I saw comments about Feltham not being like the safest area in Hounslow, then it sort of, that realization hit that I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
And I asked about how you found the research and the work that you did.
Overall, it was really enjoyable getting to know and meet new young people, and also making friends, and also, you know, Ed and Alice, they're very fun to work with. So that was overall a really good experience.
Thank you. We've got Councillor Sue Sampson and then Councillor John Stroud-Turp. Anybody else want to ask questions after? And then Councillor Rhys-Williams.
Thank you, Chair. Just out of interest, you made reference to the your survey regarding safety. What would make you feel safe, or the people that took part of the survey? What do you think would make them feel more safe? Would it be like, say, additional lighting in the borough or more police presence? What do you think it would be?
So I feel additional lighting would certainly make the area safer, but regarding more police presence, there was a very mixed response regarding that, with a lot of people saying that it would make them feel safer, but then a lot of people saying that it would actually cause stress and pressure on young people, just having police walking around everywhere.
So how would we make the borough and help you feel safer in the borough?
I mean, fixing streetlights and adding more streetlights to pathways where students usually walk down from, like, especially because it's wintertime and it gets darker real quick. So adding lights to places where students usually take the route home. So for instance, throughout the Heath, that's quite a big area where students, you know, walk through, and yeah, that might help.
Councillor John Stroud-Turp.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. That was a brilliant, and I hope you can share it with us, because it'd be great to get a copy of it. There's some really good stuff in there. I was going to ask a similar, two questions, but one was similar to Councillor Sampson's, but just going a little bit further, because I think the police have sadly left now, but it's that almost impossible to square circle where young people don't necessarily have the confidence in the police. And I think you heard Sergeant Cope saying that it's one of the Commissioner's priorities to build that trust and confidence in the police. Because clearly, without effective policing, young people aren't going to feel safe. But if they're not trusting the police, it's very difficult for them to make people safe. So first part of the question is, how do you think the police can build that confidence in young people?
So for building confidence, I feel like they could arrange workshops or like assemblies with schools, just go into schools, you know, with their uniform on and show, maybe like give an outline of what their day in a life looks like or something like that. Because for the Youth Council, we've had, I think, PC Harry Ali, he came and he spoke about it, and honestly it didn't feel like he was an actual like police officer in a sense, but yeah,
okay.
Sort of.
So more engagement with the
Yeah.
police coming into schools, and I think we can try and pass that back to Sergeant Cope and his team. And the second, which is totally unrelated, obviously something that we know lots of young people are worried about is climate change, and you touched on things like congestion and traffic, etc. Did you explore that any further in your survey, and because obviously it's your future it's really going to affect. I mean, we've sort of messed it up for you now. What do you think we could be doing in Hounslow just to make that house a little bit better with regard to congestion, traffic, and just making the climate a little bit better?
So, I mean, you could obviously start with school recycling-based stuff. So I know a lot of schools in Hounslow, they don't have like actual recycling. So you know how houses in Hounslow, they have separate boxes for like plastic, tin, glass, and cardboard and stuff. So you could start doing that in school maybe, have different boxes for food waste, and that could potentially help like with recycling and stuff.
Thank you. Councillor Rhys-Williams.
Thank you. I just want to start by saying thank you for doing this fantastic piece of work. It was really insightful and illuminating for us to hear. And I'm shocked by a couple of things. Is one, how much it feels like what you found about what people like, don't like, their priorities amongst young people is very similar to actually the same priorities as adults across the borough, and also chimes very strongly with our priorities as a council: cleaner, greener, safer, livable, which is all sort of the things we're focused on improving. And it seems like in some ways it does chime with what you're saying are important to you. I was going to ask a policing one, but there's been a few on that, so I'm going to quickly come up with a question about transport, which is obviously one of the ways we're trying to make it cleaner and greener and reduce air pollution is to provide alternative means of transport to school, encouraging cycling and walking. And then you've highlighted the busyness of the streets, the traffic, and the fact that it's not always a very nice environment. I'm just curious about whether walking or cycling to school is something young people would consider doing, or are they not allowed to by their parents, and would it actually be something that would happen if, say, the roads felt safer or there was less traffic? Or I'm just wondering, are young people interested in finding other ways to travel, but feel they're just impeded by just the environment around them on the streets?
So for walking and cycling to school, some young people, they might not be able to because they live too far from their school. So for example, I live in Bedfont and my school is in central Hounslow. So walking from Bedfont to central Hounslow would take me a good hour, and I don't think I want to do that during the winter. But also, even if they do live near the school, again, safety is a very big issue. So having those street lights, having, some form of way where they know they are safe and they can walk from the school to their house safely. Because, yeah.
Thanks. Councillor Dan Bowring.
Thanks for an excellent presentation. Clearly a lot of work went into it. I think it's great that you focus so much on mental health, such an important subject. I'd love to know what your thoughts are, whether you've got it in the data or whether it's just an anecdotal opinion. What are the sort of the key causes for sort of anxiety or negative mental health outcomes in young people?
Yeah, sure, I could take that one if it's about the data. So I remember there was one particular stat that did sort of that stuck into my mind about anxiety. I think it's little day sort of everyday stuff. There's things like, and it sort of connects into the previous question about transport and what have you. So lots of young people told us that actually buses being particularly unreliable and that sort of thing in the morning, that actually adds sort of unnecessary stress and angst to their general day-to-day stuff. There's the general sort of things, I guess, that we typically associate with anxiety in young people. I think the pressures of social media, but also young people told us a lot about sort of pressures of schoolwork as well, and that the general quantity of work that they're sort of expected to do, it feels like it can sort of it can overwhelm them at times, I think. So there's probably definitely something to be done in schools around supporting young people with their studies as well. Sort of, I guess, giving them the confidence to revise and study for exams confidently, but then the sort of the stuff outside of lessons on just to support. A lot of young people told us in the course of the research that actually they'd like a little bit of support from some teachers that they have a particular connection with. There's obviously a little bit of a problem with that because obviously teachers are teachers, they're not necessarily mental health professionals. So yeah, there's definitely some work to be done there, but whether that's some training, extra little bit of training to help teachers support young people through struggles, then that could be particularly beneficial.
Thank you. Councillor Salman Shaheen.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much for that excellent report to us. My three areas of work in this borough, my primary areas are parking, parks and leisure. I imagine most of your cohort in this survey doesn't really have much to say about parking. I know that you reported that leisure was one of the primary things that young people in the survey were interested in, and that's certainly a big priority. But the question that I have for you is around parks and green spaces. I wonder if your survey had anything to show on young people's thoughts towards the green space provision in the borough, whether it can be improved, whether young people need more green spaces that they can utilise.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely looked into young people's experiences of green space in Hounslow in particular, and it was one of the things that young people told us they did like about the borough as well. Oh, well, if you've put it in front of you, I'll allow you to expand on that. But yeah, we found that young people really valued the green space. I think there were always ways for it to be improved, and lots of young people told us that they prefer some parks over others. But generally, it's something that young people value. Are you guys going to read out the comments that we've got?
So regarding the question where we asked, what do you like to do in your spare time in Hounslow? The highest responses were watching Netflix, TV, films, and which was followed by eating food. Now, regarding to sports, it was about 30%, and going to the park was about 40% of people said that going to the park is what they do in their free time. So I'd say that's a fairly positive outlook towards green spaces.
Thank you. So one of the results was that young people feel like it would help their mental health if they've had the opportunity to speak to friends and just be a little bit more in community. Do you find that outside of school, you guys have spaces to go to where you can like build those connections and meet to other young people that are not necessarily the ones in your classroom? Yeah, like build community and watch Netflix together, perhaps. And just to say that we are, Reese and I and Charlotte and Brentford Voice team are setting up a Brentford Youth Voice as an opportunity to continue having these conversations amongst young people about whatever they want to talk about. But yeah, just want to know what your thoughts are on that.
So, I mean, for me personally, I go to the Hounslow Youth Council once a week, and that's the way I've made, you know, quite a few of my friends, and that I've met great people from there. So those are obviously some people that I can talk to, and obviously people that lead those sessions as well. So those are people that I can reach out to personally.
In regards to getting to know complete strangers, I don't really feel there is any space to do that outside of if they share your interests. There's no really like place to go where people of all interests can go and talk to each other. There isn't really such a place. It's either you like go to a sports club, go to a park, place like that, but not everyone has interest in those things. So.
Look, thank you. I've got a brief question to find out whether you found this out during your surveys. Did anybody talk about them not being able to do the things that they wanted to do as extracurricular activity, whether it's parental or cultural pressure? But yeah, I'm particularly thinking of affordability. I mean, we're in a big football club here today. It's big, yeah, Brentford, Premier League. But you know, I know there's a lot of youngsters that probably would prefer to do sports, but they couldn't afford it, particularly in a pressured economy as we have now. The affordability crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. So we asked a specific question on this in the survey, and yeah, we did find that there is a little bit of a financial element to it, but our most common answer was, I touched on it earlier, is having too much school, college or university work. That was what 43% of young people told us. But there was another sort of more worryingly high answer as well, which is low mental health, mood or anxiety, which was surprisingly high, and same with just simply not knowing what actually is available in the borough. I think there's definitely a gap in young people knowing about what's on offer.
Okay, thanks. I think if you can have a meeting with Councillor Lambert, I think you should have a separate meeting with Councillor Shaheen on these activities. I'm not dropping you in it, but it'd be good to elaborate a little bit more on these on these matters. I would say. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm going to come along. Be happy to come along. Look, thank you very much for that. Stay where you are, because audience has been patient. Are there any questions from residents out there? Lady at the back there. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kathy Reichart from Isleworth, and I'm also a governor of the Green School, so it's very nice to see you here. It's a really interesting piece of work. You're young people and you are either of voting age or you will be of voting age soon, which gives you the opportunity to be able to look at the people who are running for council, running as MPs, prioritising your issues and holding people to account if the people who were elected last time round didn't deliver on what they said. I'd be quite interested to know if your survey touched on this and whether young people in Hounslow actually feel motivated to vote, feel that their vote matters.
Thank you.
You're pointing that in my direction. Okay, so I guess specifically on political participation, we didn't look into that as part of this survey. It was commissioned by the council itself, so it was a sort of solely apolitical exercise. I guess if you want an anecdotal element, you could probably ask one of the young researchers. But yeah, we didn't look into particularly young people's opinions on the elected representatives in Hounslow. No.
Sorry, Kathy, use the mic, please. Thank you.
Sorry, can you hear me? Usually my children say my voice is loud enough. My question is, do young people feel that they can participate in this? And I'm not asking for any opinion on politicians, but whether they feel that that is a way for their voice to be heard and for these priorities to be given the priority that they deserve.
This is definitely a question for you guys as young people in Hounslow.
I mean, not necessarily. So, for instance, when we had the local Member of Youth Parliament elections, one of the candidates had a manifesto of making young people eligible to vote from a younger age. So I think it was 14 years old or something. Not many young people were a fan of that because they just didn't think they were of the age of actually voting. Yeah.
So, personally, I feel the answer to that is yes and no. Primarily because I feel people would, I feel young people would want to vote, but I feel that a lot of them also think that their vote would be inconsequential as a matter of, as in like, what's my one vote going to do in swaying this? Because not all of the parties we have seem to be actual options, and that leads to people voting for what they think will be chosen rather than what they want to vote for. Because what they want to vote for, there's essentially no chance of it actually getting into power in their eyes. So.
Fair enough. I've heard that a lot. I've heard that a lot from older people too. We do try to engage with voters. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? Marcus.
Hello. You mentioned about your mental health and sort of meeting people and sort of doing physical activity and that. Have you thought about doing a community litter pick? Because it may sound uncool, but there's so many things that you could do with that that would cross off a lot of your boxes. If you've got a lot of young people together, they can meet each other on an even playing field. It's good for your mental health because you're helping the community and everything. It's also good just to go down certain roads and certain streets and places where you might not actually walk, and it would just give you a broader sort of horizon with just what's going around in your community. So I think, for 4 or 5 things you've mentioned, just sort of, maybe if, a volunteer will look after the litter picking things in the bags, you could just agree a time and a place to meet and, just do a few areas, just comb a few estates. You could all sort of meet each other and, it's just, a different way of getting people together and doing something good.
Thank you. We're going to hear from about environmental champions in a bit, but there might be an opportunity for a youth wing of environmental champions or young environmental champions. Perhaps that's something you can put to your members. Lara, speak up.
There is an environmental group for young people, the community something partnership. Yeah. Huh? No. There is a group. They're doing recruitment. They changed the name to like Youth Climate Network because the other name, no one can remember, but there is one.
Okay, thanks. Maybe you can share that with Bill and he'll pass it on. Is it in the borough or is it? Oh, there you go then. All right, we'll pick up on that later. That's something. That's something that's probably not. That is political with a small p, I would say. All right, look, who's that? Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Hi. Yeah.
Microphone.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Hi. Yeah, it's called the Community Reference Group, but obviously it's not a very catchy name, so we renamed it the Youth Climate Network. The only thing is that it's for the ages 18 to 25, so I don't know if that would apply to some of the youth. But for the environmental champions, we do have eco-agents, so young people can sign up for that if they have a guardian or parent that signs up for them. Yeah.
That's good, thank you. Perhaps a presentation at the youth council at some point if you're interested.
Yeah.
Team, yeah, yeah. God, we're putting some work your way tonight.
Yeah, sounds fine.
Thanks. Right, look, thank you very much. Yeah, much appreciated. Yeah, like your presentation, and you got a lot of questions and a lot of interest from coming here tonight. And maybe if you go to other area forums with specific comments. Central Hounslow will be a good one if you're talking about litter on streets. Yeah, Hounslow West even. Thanks very much, and stick around if you like, and we'll see you again. Oh yeah, look, there, these. Take them away with you. That's where you put your food waste in and get it collected at the every week. Thank you, guys. Thanks very much. Right, thank you. You know what? Those of you who've been paying attention will have noticed that I skipped the open forum for that, but that's let's go back to item 3, open forum, which is an opportunity for members of the public to address the meeting on general issues relating to the agenda and other issues not on the agenda. So, Chris.
Hi, good evening. So we have, I'm Chris Sainty from Church Street, and I've been a resident of Church Street for 27 years, and ever since I moved there, at the end of the road of Church Street, which meets Park Road, there's always been sort of parties going on, loud music, people taking drugs, drinking, general chaos, littering, which has increased over the years and got worse. And when I brought it up with the police, they basically say they're going to do something and can't really do anything about it. And we need to get CCTV put in, because then we could do something about it. Now, we've used their mobile CCTV van on many occasions, put that in, and that works for a few days, and they disappear, and then they come back. So, for instance, this summer, we were kept awake most nights at about 6 in the morning. They get their cars, open the doors, have a full-on party, music, flat out, and if you go up and say anything to them, you get attacked, or I've had fireworks thrown at me, etc., etc. So I put in, I've got 100+ signatures for CCTV to be put in, and I just want to check. I think Sue put it in at the Borough Council meeting. So I just want to confirm, Chair, if that's you, Tony, isn't it? Can I confirm with you, Tony, that has been received and has been put in? If Councillor Sue Sampson has submitted your petition, then it's gone in. It'll be looked at. Decisions on that on petitions are coordinated by the ward councillors. So your Isleworth ward councillors. Once they get a response to that, they will discuss it amongst themselves and get back to the petitioners and take it further where necessary. Councillor Shaheen's got his hand up. Yep.
Yeah, we all 3 Isleworth ward councillors received that petition. We all supported that petition. It now goes to Ajma Garawal as a responsible cabinet member for a final decision.
I thank you all very much for that. I appreciate it immensely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Questions? Open forum? Oh, we're going to get off light tonight.
Don't be shy. I'll start singing.
Or I could also say don't encourage them, but I did the encouraging. Thank you very much. But no, any other questions, comments, open forum type questions? Lady here.
Oh, thanks very much. My name's Val Newen, and I live in Isleworth. And my question is about the local plan. And I had heard, I think, from one of the councillors here that the local plan is going to be updated, or at least there will be an opportunity, I think, for consultation. And the reason I'm asking the question is I'm also one of the environmental champions here, a bit of a woeful one, I have to admit, compared to many here, I'm sure. And I'm interested in the preservation of green space in Hounslow. And at the moment in the local plan, there is no protection for open green space, and that's because of the local plan. So I have a personal interest really in kind of lobbying to change the local plan so that green space is protected from building. And I'd like to have an update from the councillors on when that opportunity will arise. Thank you.
Thanks. I think you may have missed the boat. I think the consultation finished on the on the review of the two areas being looked at, the Great West Corridor and the West area, and that consultation ended on the 16th of November. We do have, however, you didn't see that? Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry you didn't. Perhaps it might not have been as well promoted as it could have been or had been in the past. I know Councillor Shaheen's got some has been looking at, and we have at the cabinet last week. There was an agreement on a plan on a green protection plan. Salman's got some information on what he's doing through his portfolio.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Val, I know that your question specifically relates, I think, in large part to allotments, and we had spoken to that before. Yeah. And I'd put you in touch with Councillor Bruce, whose portfolio this comes under. I'd also spoken to him myself about it. I very much support the sentiment of your email, which is that we shouldn't be building on allotments. Allotments should be preserved and protected, and I agree. And Tom said that, of course, although this consultation for this local plan is closed, he would certainly be willing to take on board your comments for future local plan reviews. There's not much we can do about this local plan review, but the point that Tony's just raised about protecting and preserving green spaces, there's two things that I can update you on. So we passed at Cabinet last week the Green and Blue Infrastructure Strategy, which sets out our plans to turn the borough's green space, increase the borough's green space, not reduce it, increase it from 38% green to 45% green over the next 4 years. So that includes parks, allotments, also green areas on estates, and we will be looking at a net increase in green spaces across the borough. On top of that, and as part of that, I also passed Grow for the Future, which is a new policy to look at all the unused and unloved, fly-tip, fenced-off, inaccessible land across Hounslow. We found 27 acres of it, and turn them into allotments, orchards, community gardens, paired with the local schools, so that they can be used to grow food for people in the cost of living crisis, and give spaces for kids to learn about where food comes from, about sustainability, biodiversity. It's something that's very important to me, and irrespective of where we're at with the local plan review, those consultation cycles are their own cycles, we still have plans on Hounslow Council to increase the green space in this borough.
Yeah, take the mic.
Oh, thank you. Well, no, thanks very much, councillors, and I really appreciate increasing the green space in Hounslow very much. But I guess my specific inquiry, as you know very well, councillor, was about changing the local plan, just to put a few words into the local plan, to literally say that in the local plan, that the council will not agree planning applications that request to build on green space in Hounslow. And councillor, I did raise this at the elections as well, and that was an election pledge, I know, from some of you as councillors to do that. So when I was engaging with the councillors on this, I'm surprised really that I wasn't given the opportunity, I guess, to formally submit anything into that consultation. I'm pretty sure I was told that that would open in the new year, the consultation process. So sorry if I've missed the boat on that, but I do hope then that maybe in the minutes of this meeting, this request to put some words into the local plan, page 99 I think it is, or page 92 at the moment, that does protect green space, and so that there would be no planning permission granted to build on land that's designated as local green space. So I would really appreciate that if that's minuted. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you.
Tony Firkins, Hounslow Green Party, Brentford Voice, and a few other organisations. Yes, we did put in a response to the local plan consultation. The local plan still intends to build on 3 areas of the Green Belt, and this is absolutely disgraceful. There's 3 areas. There's a Brentford Lakes area, there's a Airport Business Park, where the Hounslow Council are supporting the expansion of Heathrow Airport for air cargo, just opposite Hatton Cross. And I just support everyone in this room who wants to fight this building on the green belt. And please get in contact, and we can try and stop what Hounslow Council is trying to do to our green belt. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tony. Anybody else? Jim? Did I see Jim? Jim Storer, where are you?
Yep, thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I'd very much like to reiterate. Sorry, I'm Jim Storer from Brentford Voice. Reiterate what Tony has just said. It's not in our parish, Brentford Voice's parish, but we're very much with our colleagues in the west of the borough in opposing the release of Greenbelt land. And Councillor Shaheen will know that a substantial part of one of the sites is actually in use as allotments at the moment, so that would be gone. That was the first comment. And there is still opportunity, in fact, to comment on the local plan reviews. And there are 4 separate consultations are still open at the moment on the Hounslow Consultations website, and there's an opportunity there. My final question was, I'm sure there is an explanation, but I can't quite understand how it would be possible to increase the proportion of Hounslow that is green from 37 to 45%. I suppose in any case, but particularly in the light of the proposed Greenbelt releases in the west of the borough. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else? John O'Brien.
We've had a number of comments today about the difficulty of communicating and getting messages across. I've recently come across a very interesting local electronic newsletter. It's called Brentford TW8. Councillor Lambert is very active in it, writing a regular review of all the things he's been doing. It seems to me this is something that could be developed, improved, and the council could actually make better use of it, as well as the police, for example. I find it extremely good. I would also like to know how it is that I could get something put onto it. There doesn't seem to be any editorial contact there, but I think it's a very good publication and could be developed.
All right, thank you. Noted. They might even be watching this right now. Thank you. Yes. Guy Lambert.
Thanks for that. I mean, obviously, TW8 is a commercial enterprise. So to put stuff, I put stuff there on for free. They don't pay me, and I don't pay them. But I imagine that certainly a commercial enterprise. We've started a couple of years ago a Facebook page called Brentford Councillors, and we welcome people to put things on that. So that's Brentford Councillors. It started out as me, and now it's a lot of councillors playing.
And may I add to that, we've also got this in. There's a Facebook page called the Isleworth Appreciation Society. Is Rob still here? And that's usually a good one, not particularly controversial Facebook page where news goes, and I usually put my news on there or award news there too. So happy to talk to you about that at some point. It's been a ward resident. Yeah, thank you. Right, thanks very much for that. I think it's all kind of we've forumed out now. Can I invite Cindy Gardner here? The last please take your seat or come up, and you and your team or whoever you're bringing up.
We have
oh, sorry.
Instead of Ben, Chair, we've got Ben on the
Yeah.
On there, but it's Umesh instead.
That's all right. We can handle Umesh. So the last at the last area forum at the musical museum, there was a little bit of excitement when we mentioned the ward improvement officers. It was a new team at the council, and decided to bring them back. Bring this onto the bring this to the agenda. Thank you. Bring this to the agenda today, and so we've got Cindy Gardner here, who some of you may know, but she's in charge of the recycling, waste and recycling, or recycling really. We do more, we prefer to do more recycling than waste, and she's in charge of the ward improvement team, and she's come to talk to us. And Umesh runs the environmental champion. So. Take it away, be brief if you like, and I'm sure there might be questions for you, but good to see you here. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Nimesh. I work for the Green Recovery team in the Hounslow Council, and I manage the Environmental Champions program. So for those of you that don't know what the Environmental Champions are, it's a volunteering scheme made up of residents all over Hounslow, and they get involved in certain environmental activities to help clean up the borough. At the moment, we have over 145 environmental champions signed up to the program. Some of the activities that champions can get involved in is like litter picking, weeding, bulb planting, and removal of invasive species. We are looking to increase the number of activities, and I'll talk a bit about that in the next slide. So a few updates to the program. We have secured a contractor in groundwork to manage operations for the program. So what that means is that they will receive training and supervision on various environmental activities in a more structured way. So they would receive like an activity to do like once a month, and at a various site depending on where the champions are available. The main reason for hiring the contractor was to get around some insurance things, which the council could only provide a certain amount. So some activities that champions weren't able to do, but now champions should be able to do a lot more activities. Lastly, we have bulk ordered quite a lot of equipment to hand out to champions when they sign up as like an incentive. So we're giving out things like free litter pickers, branded high-vis jackets, and orange bags. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Shall we, councillors, any questions for Nimesh? Sorry, no, Lara, I don't, it's my peripheral vision, please.
Thank you. I see Library of Things on the list. I've been really interested in that, so I just want to know where on the plans are we with it?
So we have contacted one organisation which has started a Library of Things, but we haven't really gone anywhere with it. But yeah, we are looking to go into that a bit more. Yeah.
Can I just come in on that one? So the Library of Things, if people don't know what that is, it literally is a library of things where you can hire equipment rather than buy new. So if it's a drill, you just go and hire that drill for that one time you use it, rather than purchasing a drill that might sit in your shed for a few years. The Library of Things is quite costly to set up, and it does require real community engagement and buy-in as well, and volunteers to help run that. We are really interested in any groups that want to work with us in the council to set up a Library of Things. Library of Things is a brand name, so we might need to choose something different for that, but we're really interested in working with community groups that are interested in sharing, repairing, rather than purchasing new.
All right, thanks. Maybe you can approach Men's Shed at some point on that matter. Give you contacts for that. Councillor Chowdhury.
Just sticking on this theme, because I mentioned it maybe 3 or 4 years ago now to the library staff about the Library of Things, because they have a good one in Crystal Palace at Upper Norwood Library, I think it's called. So it might be worth speaking with them. If you haven't already, I've got some contacts I could put you in touch with.
We've really engaged quite heavily with our libraries team. They do have they can use the same lending system that they lend books, and to transfer that into kind of like an equipment sharing and hiring service. The problem that we've found is we've got a lack of space in our libraries in order to set up that locker system. So yeah, space.
Good, thank you. Any questions from the front here on Environmental Champions Library of Things? John?
Yes, there was a new initiative started last week called the Conservation Volunteers, who will visit every week Jersey Gardens, Thornbury Park and Redleys Park. Last week there was 1 volunteer at Jersey Gardens, none at Thornbury. This week there was 1 at the Jersey Gardens, 2 at Thornbury. You have 145 people prepared to help. Could you get them together?
Yeah, so I think you're talking about the Isleworth Green Gems. Is that correct?
Yes, that's it's alternative branding. Yes.
Yeah, so I have sent an email out to all the champions that are registered, mainly the ones that are based in Isleworth, but I can email it to all the champions if they're willing to travel from other parts of Hounslow as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Rhys Williams, Councillor Rhys Williams.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Mesh. I'm just interested. When we were discussing this earlier, actually, about the fact that champions are about championing things to help grow it and spread it and get it to grow. And I'm kind of interested in how, rather than just the 145, which is a great number, going around and doing things themselves, whether there's a plan, a program to sort of help try and build community groups in areas to, Councillor Shaheen's got some great projects around doing allotments but also doing planting projects around the borough to green things, and I think it'd be a great opportunity to try and actually give ownership of that to local communities, and I see there could be a real role for the champions in helping to build those networks and find the people who want to do these things in their local area. Is that part of the programme that you're looking at going forward?
Yeah, so with the contractor coming in, obviously they would have their own sites or they would locate sites in various parts of the borough, so that could include like certain allotments that are near Brentford, and I think that would allow them to do like certain environmental activities which they couldn't before. And yeah, I 100% agree that it would be good to like build a community through the champions, and I can't guarantee that every single champion is active all the time, but yeah, the ones that are available, we try and get them to contribute. Yeah. Cool.
Can I just say this? I know some environmental champions in my ward. In a particular street in my ward, there's 4 ladies. They keep tree pits in bloom, for example, down at Sime Park Gardens, and there's an amenity area at the as you come into Sime Park Gardens. Yeah, it's supposed to be owned and managed. It's managed by Hounslow Highways, but they participate there as well, off their own bat. Nobody really influences them. So it can be as light. I think it can be as light as you want it to be. They're not there. They're not there dedicated to solely being environmental champions, but they'll nip out. They'll water trees. They'll water plants. They'll litter pick to keep Sime Park Gardens nice. It can be as simple as that, I think. All right, thanks. Thank you, Nimesh. Can I pass you on to Cindy now? Thank you, Cindy.
Firstly, thank you, Councillor Lukey, for the invitation today to talk to you about the ward improvement team. So my name is Cindy Gardner. I'm Head of Recycling, Circular Economy and the Ward Improvement Team at Hounslow. So the premises of the Ward Improvement Team is actually to bring a few teams together in the council already. And we wanted to adopt kind of like a whole borough approach with no boundaries across contracts or services. We want it to be positive, proactive contract monitoring of our wards, of our contracted services, and to find solutions for our residents, colleagues, councillors and visitors. So the first phase of the integration is the merging of environmental contract monitoring officers that you might have come across before. So we've got officers who monitor our highways and network, who inspect our streets under the Hounslow Highways contract. We've also got officers that work with the waste and recycling services, helping to improve the systems that we've got in place through Recycle 360. And also we have a smaller team that work with Green Space 360, monitoring the parks and open spaces. So the first thing that we wanted to do was merge the teams together and reduce the areas that ward officers are actually monitoring so that they can actually focus more time in smaller ward areas. The decision was made in order to have kind of like one seamless contract monitoring service and inspections for the public realm. We wanted to simplify our systems with one contact point for all environmental services. So our residents and our councillors know who to go to in each of the wards. So this is just a few bullet points on what our contract monitoring officers do currently for waste and recycling. I won't go through them all. You can see this and we'll share the slides afterwards. We've already started to ensure that all new developments in the borough have recycling services. And it was really interesting to hear from our young people today around wanting to have more recycling in schools, and that is one of our objectives. We've actually got a couple of project officers that are contacting the schools at the moment, doing a bin audit and working with the caretakers and the green champions in those schools on what new bins that we can introduce. We offer a free recycling service to our schools, so it really is an incentive for them to cut their costs on residual waste and switch and divert as much to recycling as possible. For contract monitoring on highways, you might be aware that we have inspectors that go out and do LAMS inspections, that's land asset management surveys. They have officers that look at street cleansing, and again, littering is high on our priority of actions that we need to focus on. Obviously, obstructions on the highways, abandoned vehicles, anything to do with the street scene, really, we're very interested in, and we take every opportunity to report defaults to Hounslow Highways. For our parks and open spaces, there is an option to do LAMS inspections as well in parks, and we'll do those. We're also looking at our assets and carrying out inspections on bins and benches, general railings in parks, etc., and also the cleansing inspections in parks as well. As part of that, we'll be initiating and supporting joint action days, and we very much want to introduce the Environment Ward walkabouts, which I know Councillor Lambert is very interested in us restarting in the borough. So when we talk about ward improvements, obviously we're talking about improving our street scene, improving our public realm and local places, but also it's about taking those community initiatives one step further and having a contact point for anything environmental that our residents or councillors want to do. So having that single point of contact as a ward officer in your ward, you'll be able to go to that person, have a conversation with them about an initiative that you might want to introduce or an improvement that you might want to make. And we just want to make it as easy as possible to start those conversations. And then that ward officer will be responsible alongside other teams, our community development team, our enforcement team, ward officers that work across housing as well, bringing all of those teams together collaboratively to make a difference in our wards. So introducing the ward officers. So Sharon Ellis is currently our ward improvement officer for Isleworth. Sharon is really familiar with Isleworth and has been working in this area for a while. She's got really good experience with working with community groups and driving their ambitions to see changes in the borough. Bruce is our ward improvement officer for Brentford, obviously covering Sion as well. And Bruce equally has that ambition to make a difference for residents in Brentford. The other boroughs, the other wards are distributed like this. We currently have 5 officers covering the 22 wards. We're in a recruitment process at the moment, and we will be increasing that level to 9 officers early in 2023. So when I said about officers working in smaller wards, they'll have 2 to 3 wards, depending on the household numbers in each of those wards, but they'll be able to look at everything that's in that ward. So just to give you an example of a recent joint action day in Hounslow East, there was an alleyway that is not covered under the network so far. So we brought together a team of our ward officers, Hounslow Highways, community safety police team, and we were able to take this really good action in clearing up this alleyway. It also included some woodland area, and again we were out there with our litter pickers, orange bags, clearing the woodlands. And I think this is one of the areas that our residents really want us to get involved in. Yes, we've got schedules and frequency collections on our network, but what about private land, unkept land? And this is an eyesore for a lot of us as we walk around the borough and commute through the borough as well. So the Joint Action Day is what we want to see everywhere. We want our community to come together. We want to support clean-ups and improving spaces. We want to introduce more planting where possible. So we don't have so much expanse of pavements, and we have some local seating areas where people can congregate and meet up. So the next steps of the ward improvement team, once we've got everybody trained up on the various systems and understanding the contracts, is to do this positive, proactive approach and finding solutions raised by residents, colleagues and councillors. We really want this to be a community-based focus on projects, working with environmental champions, our community development team, community groups, associations and friends of groups. So a really quick whiz through the ward improvement team. So if you've got any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy. Can I just say, those pictures you saw of Hounslow East, they matter a lot to our ward in Oslin Spring Grove ward, and I was happy to work with Councillor Danish Said and Councillor Junamir from Hounslow East ward, and residents of Spencer Road who and others that use. There is we're very fortunate to have these pedestrian footpaths, and you can walk all the way from Jersey Road through to Kingsley Road, via Osley Station subway and the Kingsley Road, Spencer Road, and the Kingsley Road passage. there, and that's where we had a good day that day when we went and inspected it with residents. Pauline's not here; she's gone now. But if that's an example of how we can change things through these teams, and I've been in touch with them, and I think we here, the Isleworth and Brentford Area Forum councillors and residents. The wards here, the 5 wards, we've got. I don't know the others. Let's be fair, but Sharon is lovely, as is Bruce, lovely, and they will do the work, and they will work. I enjoy their respect for councillors and residents. So in fact, I'm seeing Sharon volunteered to come down to 120 Wood Lane. To look at the A2 Dominion site with us and the bin store. Tomorrow, so that was off her own bat. So I'm meeting her there tomorrow. So I will support you as I always support you, and the same as Councillor Lambert supports you, particularly when you do good things in my ward. Any questions from councillors? Councillor Dan Bowring.
Thanks, Cindy. That was great. The boat-dwelling community, recycling is a huge issue for them for kind of logistical reasons and kind of the varied nature of sites. Bruce Smith is already helping. He's been great. I'd like to ask if you would be willing to come to a proposed gathering beginning of next year of the boat-dwelling community and maybe speak to them and take any questions.
Yes, absolutely. Just send me an invitation. I'm happy to come down and have a conversation.
Unser Chowdhury.
Thank you. My question is about working with commercial properties and places. So I was walking down London Road the other day and I saw a fox at a purple bag, which told me that was obviously, well, you know what purple bags are for. So what are we doing to improve relationships working with people who have businesses and who perhaps are not supporting in terms of sorting out litter in front of their businesses?
So obviously, the purple bags are delivered free of charge to residents living in flats above shops, and that's how they dispose of their waste. We've been working with Councillor Lambert. One of his main objectives is to keep the purple sacks off the streets as far as possible, so we're trying to contain those sacks within larger bins or the black grip bins that you might have seen on the streets. That is working, and actually it stops traders or other residents adding a black sack to a pile of bags. So we have seen a decrease in the number of bags that are presented at those locations. We're working also with our special waste service to target parades of shops where we're seeing bags out on the street all the time, or general litter around takeaway places. And so it is really a focus for the ward improvement team. The special waste service are challenging commercial units on having the correct waste disposal contracts in place. So they will go in, they will ask to see waste transfer notices, which are a ticket to prove that the trader has disposed of their waste correctly. If they don't have that certificate, then they're given 7 days to present it, and then our ward's special waste service go back in. And if they cannot present proof that they've got the correct waste disposal contracts in place, then they are issued with a fine.
Can I just check, is that a one-off thing that happens? So once the business has shown that they're compliant by having that, do you follow up on that or not?
So they will always follow up if the trader cannot produce it on the first request. They get 7 days, as I said, to provide that. They'll go back, and it's a case of just going back and again and again. They have to prove that they've got a commercial waste contract in place. So they'll go back and they will be continuously fined until they've got something in place. I'm really pleased to say now that Lambton Recycle 360 have introduced a commercial trade waste service. So we now have somewhere to refer businesses to, and the uptake of that service has been really positive. So, you know, if we could get every parade of shops in the borough on our own commercial tradeways service, I think that's going to massively improve our street scene.
Thank you. Guy?
Yeah, I'll just make a couple of comments about it. One is, we started the special waste service in Kingsley Road, which was absolutely the worst fly tipping place in the borough. If you go to Kingsley Road now, there isn't any. You know, you're lucky if you find a couple of bags. I've been down there when we went through over, I think it was over 200 in one stretch. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I hate these purple bags, as Cindy knows. I want them all away. I want them all to go. And we have a little dice about whether I think we can get rid of them everywhere. Sometimes there's not enough room. I agree on the pavement for a box, but where we put in boxes in, it's been fantastically successful. The other thing that hot off the press from recycle and the commercial activity is that it's going down well everywhere, but in particular in the west of the borough, where in Chiswick it's quite difficult for them to win customers because the commercial providers are better in Chiswick. That it's more tightly priced, etc. But in the less favoured part of the Ava, they're doing very well and will continue to do.
Good stuff. Can I just look? I became councillor for Oxford in Spring Grove in 2014. The bit of London Road between the Milford Arms, Thornbury Park, up to Isleworth Station, tons of fly tip, you know, wheelie bins left on pavements. These black coffers that look like old grip bins, but you know, that people do put their pink bags in, purple bags in. They are, you know, they are magic. Doesn't mean to say that we don't get people dumping the stuff as well, but it's vastly improved these last 4 odd years where we've had the coffers. Yeah, thank you very much on that. Anybody from there? Sam Hearn, you're out of your manner, but welcome to the Isleworth and Brentford Area Forum.
Well, only just out of my manner. The boundary is just behind us, isn't it? The environmental walkabouts, I'm assuming they're separate from the Hounslow highways walkabouts. Perhaps Guy knows about that. I understand the Hounslow highways walkabouts are going to be restarted, but when those walkabouts are done, they often raise issues which sound to be much more in your remit, Cindy, than in Hounslow highways. Is there a way of communicating between those two kinds of on the ground, really useful activities?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We want to make sure that we're working collaboratively, so we don't want to be going off doing a ward walkabout with Hounslow Highways and then one with us. They do need to be joined up, and we'll be working with our highways colleagues to make sure they are joined up.
Thank you. No? Great. All right. Look, thank you very much for coming. Keep us informed. Put stuff in Hounslow Matters. Share stuff with ward councillors. Any new initiatives. Environmental champions. When new things come up, by all means, put them our way, and we'll share it with residents. One way or another, but these slides are good, and if we share them with Bill, we'll put them on the page for this meeting. Yeah?
Yeah. There was just one thing I just wanted to add. So obviously the ward improvement officers are contactable, but we still want to encourage residents to report things in the normal channels online through the reporting systems, rather than going direct to the ward officers, just because things can get lost, and we like to have things logged. We like to challenge our contractors in rectifying things within a contract level, and we don't want to get things lost in emails. So anything on Fix My Street, anything on our online forms for waste and recycling.
Excellent, good idea. I had that written down, a question to ask you actually, but I overwhelmed myself on other things. Thank you very much, Cindy. Thank you, Nimesh. We'll move on to the next item, which is Area Forum Action Plan. Now we introduced this years ago, and we put the new ones on at the last meeting at Brentford the Musical Museum, and it's just here for reference. I mean, if anyone's got any questions to ask, but we're looking at talking a little bit more about this at February's IBAF. But if there's any burning questions at the moment, I don't need councillors to reintroduce anything. Yeah. Have a look, and if there's any of these things that do interest you, get in touch with the individual councillors. Sorry, Lara. Yeah.
Just a mini update that, so Jim, with Brentford Voice and some of the council officers like Nabila and Charlotte, we're starting our Brentford Youth Voice in January. So our first meeting should be the second week of January, I think. And Brentford Stadium have offered us a few prizes as well. I'm not going to say what they are. But the young people that come to our first meeting will be encouraged to then take up that prize. So by the end of this month, I should have like a graphic ready, and I'm going to be encouraging the councillors to add that to their signature so that they can encourage all the young people that they're in touch with to come to that first event. And if you like run a business or anything like that, you can also let me know, and then you can take some of those flyers that will be around to advertise the group to young people.
You're going to do well on that because you're leading it. Well done. Thank you. All right, good. We got the minutes from the last area forum. Have we got any comments on from councillors on accuracy?
All fine by me, Chair.
All right, good. Any matters arising? Excellent. Oh, sorry, Jim? Yeah?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, at the last IBAF meeting, I think, I don't know, when was it? The 22nd of September, I think, Brentford Voice posed a question which basically mooted the idea of splitting this forum into two parts, one for Brentford and the other for Isleworth, Orsley and Spring Grove. Now, peculiarly, an early draft of the minutes of the last meeting included reference to that question and to the response, but it's missing completely from the current version that we have before us this evening. I guess it is perhaps a reformatting or editing error, but it was what happened and it was what was discussed. So we would respectfully request that it be reinstated to the minutes of the previous meeting. Thank you.
Fair enough. You're generous in saying it could have been a formatting error. I don't know. I don't know why it's not there. But Bill Lee has taken some notes, and we'll ensure that it's back there on the next set of minutes.
It's a bit awkward, this one, because normally the clerk who wrote the minutes would be sitting here, and you've got me who didn't write the minutes. So I don't know about this, but I will speak to my colleague about it, and it's been noted.
Thank you, Paul, and thanks again, Jim. Can we agree the minutes subject to that comment? Yeah, all right, thank you very much. Should know this by now. I've not been informed by any other urgent business. Good. Next meeting scheduled for the 23rd of February. I'm looking to try and get it down at the at West Thames College or somewhere else in Isleworth, but we'll let you know about that. And we also have feedback forms. If you haven't completed one, by all means complete them and hand them to Charlotte, Matt, Thomas, any other officers here. I'd like to thank you again and thank Brentford Football Club for their hospitality, and thank you councillors for coming, and we'll see you next time, if not before.